Let's be the world changers that we wish we had. Let's stop looking for superheroes to save us, and let's save ourselves. Let's use our commitment and our creativity and our ability to innovate to transform the world we see into the world we want to inhabit. And let's start by making whatever choice we can each day to make that happen. Hi everyone, I'm Nathan Gardner, and this is We Can Remake the World, a podcast about people who are changing the world and how you can help. Well, we almost did it. 2020 is coming to a close officially, and I'm not sure any of us will be too sorry to see it go. I think we're all pretty ready for some kind of reset, even if it's just a mental one. Some downtime over the holidays will be so amazing, just a chance to unplug and recharge, to simplify, be with ourselves, be with those close to us. No doubt we're all ready for some relief from this very unexpected year, which has day by day just been this saga. I mean, I feel like it's been 5 years in one. So it's really nice to feel like we can start looking forward to the year ahead. Although I think it's great that everyone is focused on moving forward and on being optimistic for a better year in 2021 in many ways, which I fully support, I also want us to remember some of the good things that came out of 2020, even amidst the struggle. Some of the moments we found for ourselves, those moments of reflection and stillness, and realizing that things are going to be okay, even amidst so many unexpected changes in our world. Those moments of connecting with old friends and family that we wouldn't have had if our normal pace had continued through this year. Those moments of remembering how easy it is to take some of the simple things for granted that we enjoy in life. Simple things like having our health, having our peace of mind, having the ability to travel, to fly, to move freely, having the ability to spend time with friends at restaurants and cafes, and those social interactions that we had begun to take for granted just because they were so normal. It's not our fault, but now I think we'll value them even more. Having enough groceries and food, and yes, even having enough toilet paper. 2020 was a big year. And we won't easily forget it, that's for sure, but who knows? In another 10 years, we might look back and say to ourselves, 2020 was a turning point. It was the low that got us to the next high, that got us to a better place. It was that moment that brought us more connectedness, more humanity in our culture and our politics, our policing, our art, brought more humanity into the stories that we tell and the things that we create, gave us more patience and compassion for each other, and brought us into a stronger commitment to protect and preserve our planet and our people. That's my hope. That's what I hope we'll look back at this time and think after some more time has passed. Let's make that happen. I want to leave you with a message of positivity as we wrap up the year. No surprise. I want our final episode of the first year that we've been creating this show, an exceptional year in every way, to reflect who we are, what we value, those of us who are making this show together, and what we want to bring to you, our listeners. I've really struggled at times over the last few months, really the last several months, almost since we began. I mean, the first lockdown began, I think, right after our second episode was put up, or maybe our third. It has been quite a year to build something new, let me tell you. And it's been tough sometimes to find a way to be inspiring and uplifting during a time that has felt so challenging for all of us. Some of the difficulty of 2020 was due to circumstances completely outside of our control, and some of the difficulty of 2020 was due to how we are treating each other, and some of the things that are playing out in our cultural stories and in our politics. So it's this combination of things that made us, I think, feel frustrated with ourselves and also just frustrated with a larger circumstance that we couldn't do much to affect, which creates this kind of pressure cooker of wanting to do better, to experience better, which is hard. But that pressure cooker can force us to become, I think, something new, which is what we focus on this show. I really believe more than ever that it's so important to express our voices in whatever way feels authentic to us. I heard a guest speak on a friend's podcast recently about how it's a revolutionary act to not allow deeply difficult circumstances and challenging times to change us, to diminish us or make us feel insignificant or powerless, to harden us and make us angry with each other or ourselves, or to give up on the vision we have for a better way of being, for our lives, and for what we want to create. And that really resonated with me. Just that sense of empowerment and drive that comes from saying, I'm committing a powerful act, a revolutionary act, just by staying positive, just by staying myself, by not getting beaten down or silenced by circumstances. And I think that is such a powerful way to look at times like these. I think this person was speaking specifically about the experience of Black Americans in the United States and how she said, I'm not going to let the circumstances of this year change me into a hard person who doesn't see good around me, who doesn't see good people. I'm not going to paint the entire world with this picture of violence or victimhood or blame just because of the actions of a few. I refuse. And it's revolutionary to do that when so many of the stories that we're given about our world are so negative. I really respected this person's point of view, and I think that it can be applied really broadly too, no matter what the circumstances are. And it helped me to realize that my own choice of how I'm going to live and move through the world still matters, and that's true for every single one of us, regardless of what's going on a larger scale. And making a commitment to continue doing the things that fuel your joy, your calm, your sense of being centered and stable, your passion. Those are real and powerful contributions too, because it helps you to stay invested in your own life, not becoming hard, not going into despair, not losing touch with who you are, with what drives you, with what makes life enjoyable for you, what gives you purpose. And cultivating those feelings keeps that sense of overwhelm, I think, at bay, keeps it away from us. And I'm speaking to myself here as much as anyone else. It's not about burying our heads in the sand by any means. But I think it's about seeing all that's going on around us and keeping ourselves going anyway, keeping ourselves focused on the constructive anyway, deciding what good we have to contribute, making a choice about how we'll be in this world of challenges, and protecting ourselves from feelings of hopelessness or doubt that we matter, that our contribution matters, that we can be part of the solution. Some of us may choose activism as our way to feel empowered and contribute our voices. Some of us may choose to alter our daily habits so that we're lined up with protecting people and planet with every choice we make as consumers or just as human beings. Some of us may volunteer and go get directly involved so that we can support others in need with our hands, with our time. Some of us may spend time just learning and educating ourselves. And then we can start conversations in our circle to help empower others with information and with options. These are all valid and important pieces. Some of us are artists and will create things that fulfill our spirits in a way that also gives something to others, whether that's just a feeling of a break from the stress of a difficult time or a way to connect with our emotions in a way that helps us to process things. All of these things are ways for us to say life is still happening, life is still moving and going, and we're still invested in it, no matter what. On today's episode, our final episode of the year, we'll explore some of the things we've learned from our first 12 guests, who are amazing people. I can't really say it enough times. We've been fortunate enough to interview massively successful business leaders, new nonprofits who are just getting started, some nonprofits who've been around for a few years and who have done some incredible work. We've interviewed world record holders and world travelers, and all of our guests, I think, share two important qualities. Each one of them believes that it's possible to change the world, and each one of them is doing it, each in their own way. We hope that you've been energized by these stories in this year of challenges and that you close out 2020 feeling hopeful about the possibilities for 2021. We certainly are. What other way is there to feel, really? Let's be hopeful. Let's tune into our contribution and then let's offer it. Let's make this year of difficulty the springboard for a year of change and transition to a better way. There's a quote from Nelson Mandela that really keeps my spirits up when I feel behind or overwhelmed or unable somehow to follow through on a commitment that I've made. The quote is, "Everything seems impossible until it is done." Building something new is tough. Changing people's ideas about the world can be slow going, as any of the people that we've interviewed could probably tell you, and it takes patience and commitment. But once the hard part is over, I think it's so worth it. When you listen to our first 12 guests speak, I think you hear that in their voices. This passion that they have, this fire that they have that comes from feeling like the work that they do matters and is making a difference. And yes, each time we've spoken to our guests, we've explored the challenges that they face. Every single time. It's actually intentional. It's part of the design of our show. We want to acknowledge the fact that these problems can be difficult and the experience of solving them can be difficult. But I think what comes through more than anything on each interview is this sense of possibility and this sense of this feeling of accomplishment that comes from doing it anyway. And I'd be surprised if any of our guests would tell you that they would trade their challenges for that good feeling, for that sense of feeling like they've done something that to them matters. We speak to world changers, to people who are committed to forging a new path based on their understanding of how to make a better planet and to serve people. And I'm so thrilled to spend some time today reviewing what our first 12 guests have done to build something new. We've spent some time reviewing all of the interviews we've shared so far, and we've come up with 10 things that you can do right now to make the world a better place. Each of these 10 things is inspired by the guests we've spoken to so far, and each of these 10 things tends to have a connection to several of our guests at once, and it was really cool to see some common themes emerge from looking back at the conversations that we've had so far. We hope that you'll find inspiration and drive within these 10 things, so that you can go into the coming new year with a stronger commitment to building a better world together. Let's get started. Number 1. This one is specifically designed for 2020, I think, and that's why we're starting with it. But it will definitely serve us in the year and the years ahead as well. So number 1, take care of yourself. Keep your center, keep your peace. This is so important no matter what's going on in the world, but especially during challenging times. And as difficult as 2020 was specifically in some ways, I think we're going to be faced with some challenges for a little while. So learning how to keep our peace, keep our center, and stay calm amidst kind of some tumultuous circumstances will serve us. Without our peace of mind, without that sense of centeredness, we don't have peace to offer others, and we're kind of easily blown around depending on the news of the day or the recent events in the world. But if we find a way to maintain our peace, then circumstances don't affect us as much. And we know how to come back to our center. We know how to come back to our place of feeling like we're okay and we can help others feel okay, and we can stay focused on solutions more easily. Also, taking care of ourselves keeps our health up. And without our health, it's so much more difficult, I think, to feel like we can be active and be proactive. If we're struggling with our own mental health or physical health, it limits us in our ability to make an impact. So I think it's important to really take care of ourselves for that reason. When things get tough, our sense of empowerment and our sense of our personal center can be our greatest resource, because we know that we have the ability to maintain who we are and what we care about, no matter what. And that is a huge tool to call upon. When things are difficult, when things are easy, it doesn't matter. If we know who we are and what kind of foundation we have, then the ins and outs of the day-to-day doesn't matter quite as much. We heard this idea reflected by a few of our guests, including Yolanda Holder, Guinness World Record holder, who spoke about the importance of maintaining a positive mindset and maintaining a practice of caring for our bodies so that we can feel like our best selves. We heard this reflected in our conversation with Kelly Noonan-Gores, director, writer, and producer of the Netflix documentary Heal, who in her film and in her conversation with us shared the importance of feeling a sense of empowerment when it comes to our health, feeling like we can determine our path when it comes to our well-being, which affects every aspect of our lives.
I think the more inspiring stories of healing that people see, then they go, okay, if they can do it, I can do it.
And we also heard this spoken about by Harita Davies, meditation teacher in New York City, who spoke about the importance of our peace of mind and the sense of peace that we carry throughout our days, which makes its way into the world and affects the people around us and ripples outward from there, and how powerful that actually is. Even though it feels like the way that we choose to live our lives can't matter that much, it does. And in some ways, it can be our greatest contribution. Harita spoke about the ability that meditation has to create a deeper sense of peace in our daily lives, which really impacts the world and certainly affects how we feel from day to day.
If you can start your day by practicing meditation and really bank a store of inner peace, then you can draw on that throughout the day so that when things come up that are unexpected or that make you upset or challenge your patience, then you have something within yourself that you can draw on.
So, number one, take care of yourself so that you know what you need to stay in a positive place, which is everything when things feel difficult. Number two, become the most conscious consumer that you can be. We've heard this idea repeated by a lot of our guests, and I think where it's really clear is in our conversation with Kenneth of Hempies and with Claire of the United Nations Global Compact. Kenneth from Hempies pointed out that our dollars are our voice when it comes to how we live as consumers, and that expressing our values with the way that we spend is really important.
As consumers, I think one of our strongest voices, even stronger than with the politicians, is with the companies. Because companies will react when you hit their bottom line. And if you taught the companies, this is what we want and we will pay you for it, they will start to deliver it.
Companies listen when consumers speak with their dollars, and companies make changes, make improvements, build new ways of doing things when consumers demand it, and won't support financially practices that they don't believe in when it comes to how businesses run. Claire from the UNGC spoke about how powerful business is when it comes to driving change. And as her organization works closely with some of the largest corporations in the world to build sustainability and human rights into their practices, she sees that companies really are driven by consumer sentiment, which trickles up to investor sentiment.
A lot of companies can say, well, people still buy our products, so, why would we change it if people are still buying it? So I think collective action is really important. So engage with companies and saying, look, it's not just me and my purchasing power, but it's, me and all these other people and our collective purchasing power.
So the way consumers believe and behave really matters on a global scale when it comes to companies and how they behave. A few ways that you can think about becoming a more conscious consumer include being picky about the companies you want to support. Make sure you know what the values are of each company that you're supporting. Be a little bit more intentional about where you're spending your money, and really do your best to find and support businesses who are making a positive impact with their products, with how they create their products, and wherever you can, purchase things that you need from companies like that. Find resources like the B Corp organization, which will point you in the right direction when it comes to companies that are doing good in the world. Take the time to learn more about what it takes to build the products that you buy, and find the best possible options for the products that you buy based on the companies who are building people and planet into how they create those products. Doing that research can be so empowering, and there are a lot of resources out there which we've shared over this year with you so that you can understand which companies are best to support and why. Every product we purchase has some kind of impact. It's just a matter of whether that impact is positive, negative, or neutral. For more inspiration here, listen to our episodes with Kenneth of Hempy's and Claire of the United Nations Global Compact if you haven't already. They've got a lot of really, really strong recommendations and clear action steps you can take to become a more conscious consumer. Number 3, speak up. When you know something to be true, share it. When you found information that made you feel more informed and more empowered as a person or as a consumer, send it to others. Start conversations. Be willing to challenge people's ideas of the world. When people say there's nothing we can really do, you know better because you listen to our show and you've checked out our resources and you know that there are things that we can do every single day as citizens of our communities, as citizens of the world, as individual consumers. You know that we can make a difference. So speak out against the exploitation of our planet and of our environment and of other people. Speak out against injustice that you see. One of our guests who really inspires us along these lines was Final Straw. Emma Rose Cohen, the founder and CEO, spoke about her ups and downs with speaking out and speaking openly about some of the practices that we have in place that are causing harm in our world, such as using single-use plastic. And if you look at Final's social media, they mince no words when it comes to calling out the options that we have and holding people accountable to making better choices, which I think is an important piece of this whole conversation.
9% of plastic is recycled, and then less than 1% is recycled more than once. Less than 1% of plastic gets a second, life. When you throw something away, you never think about it again. It leaves your hand and goes into some ethereal existence. But what everyone is coming to realize now is that there is no way, and that our trash always has a place, and that place is probably in someone else's backyard.
And it's not about blame, and it's not about judgment. It should never go into that place. But we do have information available to us, so taking the opportunity to share it, to enlighten and make others aware about the choices that we have is so important, so that we start to expect better, and that we don't get caught in this idea that we're just stuck in a cycle. We're not stuck at all. We can make positive changes. So where you can and when you can, speak up. Share resources, spread this message around, use our show as a resource, share our episodes so that people start to understand what options we do have to make a better world every single day. Number 4, and this is a really clear one, make a personal commitment to avoid disposables wherever you can. Something that we've learned in speaking with more than one of our guests is that disposables are one of the largest problems we face when it comes to our waste and the problems that our waste is causing. And the great thing about that is that disposables are also one of the simplest things that you can do to make a big impact when it comes to these problems. If we can make a commitment to stop using disposables one by one, starting with the obvious choices like plastic straws, plastic cutlery, coffee cups, disposable coffee cups, that is, and plastic bags, we can totally transform a huge problem in our world and a huge problem for our oceans. We learned from Emma of Final Straw that these 4 disposables are some of the biggest culprits when it comes to creating problems in our environment.
I would say the 3 kind of are 4 easiest items to remove and just say no to: straws, utensils, bags, and coffee cups. And those are items that I have made a commitment to. I will never use them. And if I don't have my reusable alternative with me, I just go without. I just don't get a coffee.
There are reusable bags, reusable straws, reusable coffee cups, and reusable cutlery available to us in many forms. Check out our Final Straw episode or our website for resources, recommendations, and tips about how to transition into a disposable-free life. Make this personal commitment to avoid disposables in your life as often as you can. It's a really clear step you can take to make a positive impact right now. Number 5, waste nothing. Everything you possess has value for someone else. This includes the clothes you wear, and this definitely includes the food that you eat. We've heard from both Robert Lee of Rescuing Leftover Cuisine and Kim Buffington of Eden Gives about how important it is to take something that would otherwise be wasted, in both of their cases, food, and bring it to someone who is in need. Robert told us that we can solve the hunger problem in the United States overnight if we simply stop wasting food.
40% of the food that we produce in this country is going to waste. And a third of that is enough to eliminate the food insecurity problem in the U.S.
If we find ways to bring leftovers from company events and company lunches, or even just our day-to-day experiences like eating at restaurants and the kind of food waste that restaurants generate, and funnel that food to people who need it, that would end hunger in the United States immediately. Kim of Eden Gives has shown us that through commitment and cooperation, we can build programs that will take leftovers or food that's about to expire from grocery stores and bring them to families who need that food, who benefit from the fresh foods that will likely expire from these stores, who would otherwise just throw that food away. And what I loved so much about our conversation with Kim is that she highlighted the impact that something as simple as a box of fresh food can have on a family if they get that regularly every week, in the case of Kim and Eden Gives.
And so for this family, they're getting enough groceries as if they went to the store and bought $60 to $65 worth of food, which means they don't buy as much food for themselves. And over time, families have been able to save that money and purchase college, purchase training to get a better job, purchase a car. That's happened more than once. Saved money for 2 years. Bought a car that was reliable, that got them transportation to an area of town where they would have to drive because it's so far away, but they got a $5 per hour raise working in the new place. That type of stuff is life-changing. That's a hand up, not a handout. The food is allowing them to reach up in their life to a better life, never mind the health effects.
So see everything you have as a resource. Make sure that you're not wasting food especially, but also clothing or toys maybe for kids, or backpacks or suitcases, or even plates and cutlery that are still in good condition. People can make use of those. Bring those to a shelter. Find a way to contribute to a food donation program in your community, or consider starting one. Be part of the no waste movement so that everybody can have what they need as we get more intelligent about funneling our resources and ensuring that nothing that we produce goes to waste. Number 6, understand that you matter. Your actions matter. This is one of the things we focus on so often on our show. Feeling like we can make a difference is so important because it's true. We hear over and over from each of our guests that all of our systems, everything about our world, is just a collection of choices and a reflection of our values. The $10 million in sales from one company is just a reflection of maybe 10,000 or so shoppers who made that store their choice for whatever they were purchasing. Every single disposable straw in the ocean is a choice that someone made. And as each of us continues to make the best choice we can based on what we know, then the faster we'll see the change. And the more we'll begin to expect to see it, because it'll become more of the norm. But that momentum starts with us, with each of us making an individual choice. That's how change always gets started, with a small group and then a larger group and then a larger group making the same choice based on a shared value. This one ended up as number 6 on our list, but this is definitely one of, if not the most important one. I think Kim of Eden Gives spoke beautifully about this idea that we each have a choice to impact the world every day, and I wanted to share it with you.
And I loved the idea that we can repair the world by how we live, how we move, how we be, whether it's interactions with other people and how we approach conversations, especially difficult conversations. But through our hands and through the work that we do every day, we get to choose whether we're repairing the world with that or not.
You matter. You have influence. We all have influence. And it comes down to our daily choices and actions and the beliefs and values that we reflect with those choices and actions. Number 7, learn more. This is a big one for us because it's one of our biggest intentions with this show is to help empower our listeners with information. So every single one of our episodes lines up with this one. The guest who comes to mind for me here is Anne of the Park Slope Food Co-op in New York City. If you didn't catch our episode, the Park Slope Food Co-op is a cooperative business or a co-op. And Anne helped me to understand that there's this whole other kind of business that's actually really successful and very widely used around the world that so few of us know much about. And now that I know more about it, I just see greater and greater potential the more I think about it. When we learn about what's possible, we open the door to even greater potential. And Anne really helped me get there by describing a whole new kind of business that could change the world in so many ways.
I think in this time when people feel vulnerable at their jobs and job security and financially, these are ways in which people can actually come together and build a future for themselves along with other people. So, that's where the potential is, that there really is a way to strengthen our communities, to bring jobs that are local, that are well paid, to provide services or resources or goods that people want and need and have a say in what they are. I can't, it's a win-win. It's really evidence of what can happen, what's possible.
Understanding what's contributing to a problem will help us to say, oh wow, a solution is possible because here's the cause and I understand that, and now I understand why the solution matters and how it can work for me in my life and how it can work on a larger scale if enough of us take the opportunity to build it into our daily lives. We can't act on what we don't know. So use our episodes as inspiration and then go do your own research if you feel inspired. Learn even more about each of these different situations, each of these different problems, and you might come up with solutions and ideas that weren't covered on our show. And then share those ideas with us or with others. Call us out on social media, raise your voice and say, there's something we can do about this and this and this, and here's what I'm doing. It's that information that I think drives the motivation. If we have a reason to alter our choices or our behavior, if we have a why, we're much more likely to implement and sustain that new habit, I think. So the information is key. Without the information, you're just getting part of the story, and you might go back and forth a little bit between new habits and old habits, but if you know why you're doing it, it keeps that motivation in you, and it keeps the purpose for your new habits alive. So keep learning more, stay curious, and as you learn more, do your best to stay positive and focused on solutions. Because sometimes with more information can come more overwhelm because then you see more of the problem. But the other side of that is you also see more of the solution because it becomes clear what's contributing to what is and what we can do to change it. Number 8, donate to nonprofits that you believe in. I think along with becoming a conscious consumer, becoming a conscious contributor is a really compelling and important idea for us to explore. And there are many ways to be a contributor to a nonprofit. Those of us who have a little bit of discretionary income can donate funds. We can all donate our time. We can help to spread the word about an organization so that awareness grows and then support grows. Decide what contribution feels right to you, and then find the organizations you resonate with and offer your support. A couple of the nonprofits that we've spoken with include Grateful Peoples, an organization focused on helping everyone, and especially kids in school, how to use gratitude to build a better life for themselves.
Yeah, so the idea is just really to incorporate gratitude into school's curriculum. All the schools that we work with, and they all say that the kids start behaving better. That they all say that, wow, I never realized there were so many good things in my life. Yeah, so the feedback's just been better behavior, more community, more kids helping out each other, and the kids they feel lighter because they're letting a lot of their emotions out.
we spoke with Reef Check, based in California, who is doing work to collect data about the health of our reefs and share it so that we can make choices which help our oceans recover and stay healthy.
So we work with volunteer scuba divers that we consider citizen scientists. So they don't have to have a scientific background or training. They have to be scuba divers, and then we teach them the scientific methods to monitor coral reefs in the tropics and rocky reefs and kelp forests along the California coast. And then we use that information that our citizen scientists collect to work on conserving and protecting the reefs.
We've also spoken with Rescuing Leftover Cuisine and Eden Gives, 2 food donation programs, which are making sure that the hungry are fed. And there are thousands and thousands more out there. So find a few that you love, that you're passionate about, and consider giving on a regular basis. Make sure that these organizations can continue to do their work to make the world a better place wherever they're focused, so that we gather and build momentum on that front too. We can do more than just support with what we buy. We can support with what we're willing to give. And again, the scale is not as important, I think, as the act of doing it, because it also makes you feel empowered. It makes you feel like you're part of the solution that these people are building, which is such a great feeling if you don't have a way to make a more direct impact yourself, or just to add it into the mix of what you're doing to transform this world. Number 9, empower your community. This is just another way, I think, of saying get involved. Reach out to organizations directly around you to contribute whatever you can, whether that's your time by volunteering, maybe that's food if you find a food donation program nearby, maybe there are educational programs that you can contribute to in your way by donating books or materials or even teaching or offering childcare. The reason I think this one is so important is because a lot of the problems that we're aware of and the solutions that we are seeking are kind of big, and there might be global solutions, or there's organizations that are based all around the world that we can support in one way or another. But reconnecting to our immediate communities, I think, is really powerful. So doing something that supports people directly around you gets you plugged in and makes you, I think, feel like you're contributing in an even more powerful way. So finding ways to support your community with your time, your dollars, your resources such as food or clothing is something that I would definitely recommend that each of us explore. What can we do exactly where we are to become changemakers and uplifters, to demonstrate that we're interested in seeing the best of the people and the community around us? I think this is part of the reason why so many nonprofits build an educational aspect into their work. Because with community engagement and sharing of information and understanding around a problem and its solution, there's more likely to be mobilization amongst communities and amongst the people who are directly impacted locally. And then they want to become part of that solution because they want to see their community thrive and improve. So taking part in your way, in your community, can, number 1, link you up with becoming part of a solution exactly where you are, which is a really powerful experience. And number 2, can connect you with other like-minded people who want to make improvements, and you might learn from and inspire each other in ways that you can't experience otherwise unless you get out there and get involved in whatever way makes sense for you. When we spoke with Jan of Reef Check, the nonprofit in California doing work to preserve our reefs, he shared something that really stuck with me. Reef Check uses volunteers to collect their data, everyday people, who Jan calls citizen scientists. By inviting citizens, members of the global community, into the conversation, into collecting the data, their experience of the ocean changes, and they become part of a new community, more focused on conservation, of a resource they didn't even know we all had.
The really cool thing, too, by teaching people to look at the reef in the scientific way, is they really start seeing things that they have never noticed before. So one of the responses we often get after our trainings is that they come out of the water and they're like, oh my God, I had no idea there's all these different species here. Get a whole new appreciation for the diversity and a whole new interest in protecting it. as well.
Your options might be somewhat limited right now in this time of lockdown, depending on where you are, but you can still reach out and build those relationships virtually at the moment. And then once things open back up again, you can go support in person. But there's always communities online to connect with. There's always organizations to communicate with, even without going in person. So take whatever opportunity you have. And number 10, the last one on our list, be the change. What this really means to me more than anything is making a commitment to be an example of possibility, of improvement, of the options that each of us have to make a better world in how we behave and how we buy, what we contribute to with our thoughts and our actions and our words and our finances. Be the example where you are and be bold about it. Talk about the good that you're doing and the good that you believe in on your social media platforms, within your friend groups, within your family, within your community. Reach out to others and show them the example that you're offering, not out of a place of bragging or of being self-righteous in any way, but of a place of giving and showing what's possible. More than anything, I think what we need are more examples of people who are willing to say, yes, things are tough, but we can do something about it. Yes, our problems seem big, but there are actions we can each take to make a small difference, which adds up really quickly. There's a reason we all know Gandhi's quote about being the change that you wish to see in the world, and that's because it rings true. If you want to see a better world take shape, be part of it. Be part of building it. Take that step beyond being aware of the problem and be part of the solution. And know that with time, more and more people will join you. And before long, things can turn around really quickly. If you think about it, every single item on this list begins with a commitment to do this, to understand what our options are and to make the best choice we can every day. Let's be the world changers that we wish we had. Let's stop looking for superheroes to save us, and let's save ourselves. Let's use our commitment and our creativity and our ability to innovate to transform the world we see into the world we want to inhabit. And let's start by making whatever choice we can each day to make that happen. You don't have to start a business. You don't have to start a nonprofit. There's so much you can do to be part of every single solution that we share on every one of our episodes. And once we drive this conversation, more and more individuals and more businesses think about the opportunity that they have to make positive change, we'll see so many incredible things take shape. But truly, it starts with you. It starts with your choice and your commitment. Because that's the only thing you really have true impact over. What do you choose? What do you choose to show as an example to others? What change do you choose to make? Let that be step one. That does it for us for our final episode of 2020. Have a wonderful holiday season, whatever you celebrate. I hope you get to have some really nice quality downtime, and I hope you're looking forward to a new year. And remember, let's not condemn 2020 completely as this year that was only difficult, only challenging. It was also a year of connection and a year of reflection and a year of new ways of thinking. It was a year of opportunities to learn about and engage with these challenges in a new way. And we got through it. And soon we'll have the chance to put some of the things we've learned into practice and make some positive changes as things return to some sense of normal, however long that takes. I don't know about you, but I plan to inject the next couple weeks of this time of holidays and slowing down with as much joy and relaxation as I possibly can. I'm going to bake cookies like crazy, I'm going to sleep a ton, and I'm going to play games and laugh as often as possible. We'll be back with more inspiring interviews and more conversations in the new year, and we look forward to connecting with you and growing with you in 2021, come what may. We hope for each of you that you're able to enjoy the next couple of weeks in peace with people that you love, and that you're able to walk away from this year, 2020, feeling like at least one part of you has gotten better in some way, gotten stronger. As tough as it's been sometimes over this last year, we hope you can find some good in all of it. thanks again for being here with us now and throughout this past year, and we'll see you in 2021.